Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Hello and welcome back to Undercurrent, which this evening finds me in the beautiful Queen's Gardens in East Perth. And it's here you'll find a statue of the boy who never grew up, Peter Pan. And it's adorned with many of his beautiful followers, including these gorgeous rabbits. Which brings me to my next point. In some states in Australia, it is illegal to eat animals such as cats and dogs, but apparently not here in WA. Harry Simmons investigates.
I'm here at Sapa Markets, enjoying my congee and pork with perilla leaf, and the local cook here, Ms. Zung, starts asking me, have I tried dog before? And I kind of laughed, and she said to me, you're not a real Vietnamese man if you haven't tried dog.
I wouldn't eat dog, but I mean, I'm happy with people who eat dogs.
Because it's a pet, you can't eat it. Dog.
No, never.
No.
I don't think so.
Well, I love dogs. I've had dogs all my life.
In WA, it is currently legal to eat dog and cat meat. We asked the question, would you eat your dog?
So generally, if you talk about food, food is an habit. What your mother would have put on your table when you were a small boy, that you continue eating as you grow up. So it's an habit, but once you grow up, it is totally up to you whether to be vegetarian or to eat meat. It's totally under your discretion.
I had a pet dog, so it just seemed weird to eat it. I think because we don't really have cows as pets, we don't really grow to love a cow.
People sometimes laugh at India because in India they call it holy cow or sacred cow. But in India the cow is considered, in the villages, it's considered part of the family. It's like the family pet. And they draw milk from the cow, so it's we consider we have a debt to the cow because the cow is providing us milk, and the milk is providing us many nice things like milk and butter and cheese and yogurt, all of which make eating very palatable.
We start killing animals, slowly and eating animals, and all we become slowly to be insensitive to other living entities. So what's the difference between killing the animals and humans?
No, I never tried dog before.
Why would you not eat dog?
Because I treat them as a pet and we respect them, and I think dog meat is also not very healthy, and they have many germs and bacteria in there.
So here I am, and she's going to give me a little piece to try. It's too big. Oh, it looks amazing. All right, here we go. This is me being a real Vietnamese man.
In modern thinking, the idea is that we should accept all cultures as being equal and acceptable. But in some cultures, people will spear strangers and eat them. They're cannibals. Now, that's not acceptable in Australia because under the law of the land, you can't kill somebody and eat them. That's not acceptable. So even materially, there are some distinctions between one culture and another culture. Some cultural practices may not be acceptable in Australia.
Definitely crunchy. It's cooked in lots of spices and herbs, so it's quite aromatic. But you know what, to be honest, I probably wouldn't try it again.
Everybody's under the same law of karma, and simply the state legislates that meat eating is acceptable or allowed under certain circumstances. That doesn't give you immunity to the law of karma. So you still have to undergo the consequences, the karmic consequences of that activity.
It doesn't make sense that our pets has emotions and our food doesn't have emotion.
While dog meat is not actually available legally in WA, crocodile and kangaroo meat is.
Hold on, Skip, I'm on my way back.
Well, this week finds me in the stellar Queen's Gardens here in East Perth, a site that was once used for horse racing, also as a clay pit and also as a brickworks. Well, this Wednesday sees the annual Silent March, which aims to help stop domestic violence. Morgan Peterson has more.
The Women's Council for Domestic and Family Violence works to ensure all women and children live safe and violent-free lives.
The Women's Council is a statewide peak organisation. We represent our members, which primarily are the 54 women's refuges across the state. And in our work, we aim to ensure that women live free of domestic and family violence. So that includes things like trying to support policy and program changes that will ensure that that message is sent.
The Silent Memorial March is held every year to commemorate those who have died from domestic homicide.
The Silent March, which will be held on Wednesday, the 23rd of November in Sterling Gardens in the city, has been going for 21 years. It started in 1991, and that was with a group of women who were women survivors of domestic violence, and they were outraged that often the criminal justice system didn't support them, and they felt quite let down. So that's, with that handful of women, that's how the march started.
I'm a project officer, so I pick up on various bits of funding we get from places like DCP, Lottery West, and run with different projects. At the moment I'm working on a project called Sector Scoping, and that involves going around and visiting all of the services right around the state, finding out what they're doing currently, where they'd like to see their service going in the future, and how we can best help them to do that. This will be my third march. I've been working at the Women's Council for coming up on 3 years, and the march has just grown so much since I first started here. It's become a really big event. We get a lot of family and friends of victims, not only who've died in the year that's just happened, but also who've died in previous years, and they come along to grieve, but also to try and take a stand against domestic and family violence related homicides.
I'm the Children's Policy Officer, so working on a project called Keeping Kids Safe, which aims to ensure better outcomes for children escaping domestic and family violence with their caregivers. So that includes supporting refuge staff through training, resources, good practice standards and things like that to increase the opportunities for children to recover and move on from their experiences of violence, and also to break the cycle of violence. The unfortunate reality is children are victims of domestic homicide too, and often too many children die as a result of domestic homicide, so it's very important to have representation not only for women and men that may be victims, but also children, because they are such vulnerable members of society, and getting their voices and experiences out there is really important.
Before we actually go on the march, we have a rally, and part of that is that we honour those that have lost their lives as a result of domestic homicide, and there's been 9 deaths recorded this year. The next part is that we have a lot of service providers, people working in the domestic violence sector, that will have information there, so service users and other service providers can share information on the day. And then we march through the city streets, and it's a silent march, and that's quite powerful when people see a large group of people walking in unison together with placards and banners and things like that. And that is more to let the general public know that don't know what we're doing, that domestic violence is a public issue and it's not going away. We need to keep it out there in the public eye. At 10:30 we have a free morning tea where everyone can just chat and mingle. At 11 o'clock we have the official opening of the ceremony. Verity James will be emceeing the event. We also have a very courageous woman who's a survivor of domestic violence, and she's going to tell her story, and she's now a campaigner for Funds for Freedom, which is a campaign to raise money for women that have escaped domestic and family violence. Often they've left with the clothes on their back, and we're hoping these funds will go directly to the women to help them set up again.
The Silent Memorial March will be held next Wednesday, the 23rd of November in the Sterling Gardens, and all members of the public are welcome to attend. The march hopes to raise further awareness about domestic violence in Perth. I'm Morgan Pedersen for Undercurrent.
Well, this week John Hammond stopped in for a quick drink at the Court Wine Bar with one of the new kids on the block in Perth's law fraternity, Megan Jones. Take a look.
Megan, you're a tender 23 years of age and you've just started in the world of law. How do you feel?
Great. I'm really happy to get started and start my career and be finished uni and start on that next path in life.
Megan, a lot of people say about young people such as yourself that you are the why generation. Why meaning why do we have to do it? Do you think you suffer from that problem?
Sometimes, definitely. There are often things in life that you don't want to do, but I think it's a fact of life that you just have to get on with the job. So I think in youth there's always that hesitancy to take responsibility for what you're doing and to get on with it.
Do you hear your colleagues saying, I can't stand it, there's too much work on, why do I have to do it?
Only with things they don't want to do. There's a bit of that, but I think a lot of the people that I'm around are really motivated to succeed and just try their best to get the things done. There is a bit of a backlash against so much work. I think we're going away from the doing really late hours and things like that.
And when you get out of the law office at night, what's the first thing that you do?
We have a ritual called de-workifying.
De-workifying. I haven't heard that one before.
You got to go upstairs and get out of your work clothes and just do whatever you can to get out of that work mindset, and then we'll usually cook a nice dinner and have a few drinks, and that'll be my evening after work. So
in terms of goals, Megan, in terms of about what you want to do for yourself, is travel one of those goals?
Travel's a big goal of mine, so just experiencing something different in a different place and seeing the world is more accessible to me at the moment. So.
And getting into law, was that something that your parents desperately wanted you to do?
Not at all, no. My parents have always encouraged me to do whatever it is I really like, and I think they were very shocked when I decided I wanted to do law. I think even I was shocked when I decided I wanted to do law, and just something I sort of fell into through enjoying one of my subjects at high school, political and legal studies. I really enjoyed it and just thought that was the right path for me, and it ended up being so.
In my day, Megan, there was stories about students that were so keen to get ahead that they'd rip sections of textbooks out and take them home with them. Now with the electronic era, how do students get ahead or get one? Were there stories like that went around at university when you were there?
Not so much. I think a little bit of collusion goes on these days, so there's a lot of study groups and getting together with your mates to get better grades for each other. I know a lot of my friends kind of get together and divide up bits of their assignment, and one person focuses on one thing and one person focuses on another, and that way you both get a better grade, and it's good. It's like a more of a sharing way of getting ahead, so it's not as cutthroat maybe.
And do you use things called books anymore in law libraries?
Not at all.
They just have ceased to exist?
Yeah, unless you want something that's really outdated.
So everything's on the digital screen?
Almost everything is available, yeah, on the internet, and that's the way I certainly.
Do you know what a
prefer to do
fax
things.
machine is, Megan?
I do, although I thought that they weren't used anymore, but I've been proved wrong.
Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years' time? Have you got a plan about where exactly you'd like to be?
Thinking a bit long term. I don't know. I try not to be that.
Or you're just living for tomorrow?
I'm living for the moment,
Fantastic.
like most 20-year-olds.
Fantastic, I love it.
Well, sadly, that brings us to the end of yet again another episode of Undercurrent. As always, we're very interested to hear your feedback and your ideas for the show. So join us on our Facebook page, Twitter, or our website, wtvperth.com.au. I'm Christy Molliker. I look forward to your company next week for more Undercurrent.
Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.